That's
yeah,
awesome.
so it's interesting, Paul, that your theme is say yes and be prepared to learn. So it's kind of exactly the way we started, right? We didn't really know each other too well, and we decided to sit down for that coffee at the Starbucks over there in Owasso. And so what are some of the top three things that you've said yes to, and then what have you learned from that?
I've been able to take advantage of some opportunities, both professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
That I think if you take it down to just the basic, if it's a mindset of, hey, I'm going to try something, and who knows where it's going to lead, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. Mm-hmm. That more times than not has been really good for me. The one personally that I like to talk about is that my son was involved in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to one meeting, just informational meeting at school. They go, come join Cub Scouts. And so we did. And next thing we knew, when we left, we were the den leader and the pack leader, just because we agreed, because they said, hey, we need someone to lead it. So we're like, okay, we'll try. And then the next level of that was when my son graduated up to Boy Scouts. And the current leader, he pulled me aside one day after I had, been working and getting to know the boys, and he said, "Hey, I got to, go into graduate school and do some things. I really can't be committed to this, but I'd really like you to take over." And I'm like,
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! I was like, "No way! I don't know how to do this." And I was like, "No." I tried to put him away and just say, "No, thanks, but no thanks." But after I thought about it, and I said, what the heck, I'll try it. And that turned into one of the most wonderful experiences I've had for probably 5 years. I got to spend being a leader of adventure trips and leadership workshops and stuff with my own son, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I got to take some great trips over to Philmont, outdoor, adventure in New Mexico, and we did a canoeing trip up in Minnesota. So I am so glad I said yes to that, because if I would have just said no, then I would have missed out on all that cool stuff. Professionally, when I was in doing my freelance work, I was really tight. I lost some business, and things were not looking good. And I spent my days, combing through people to call and companies I might pitch to. And one of my buddies said, well, you need to talk to my friend Joe over here at Tulsa Company, that was just a dream company that you could ever work for. So I had a meeting with him, showed him my portfolio, explained kind of what I did, and didn't hear anything for weeks, maybe a few months. But then one day he came up to me after a church service and he said, hey, I need your help. Do you know how to do web design or the Adobe Dreamweaver product? I'm like, yeah. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I better learn it quick. But he said, we've got this deal where we're converting our printed newsletter to digital only. They're completely doing away with the printed component, and they just want to take it all online. And I have learned enough web design to be adequate, but by no means would I go out and pitch it and say, hey, I'm an expert at this. But I said yes, and that developed into one of the best client relationships I had, almost 7 years of monthly repeat business, which I had to learn, and I had to work hard at figuring it out and spend long hours and all that. So I said yes, and then in the back of my mind, I'm like,
actually, I would, back to your website thing, I would say you're very proficient. And I actually happen to know that because you took my website that I'd made a complete mess of, and you made it simpler, faster, better. And it became, a really nice scrollable one-page smartphone familiar or smartphone savvy. And a lot of people, I send them there to find out a little bit more about what you and I have done before, and also what I've done working with some other high potential leaders. So
But
I think the other saying yes and being prepared to learn that I remember, Paul, is I know you said yes to Lorena Acosta down in Florida to go to be part of a panel, right? So why don't you talk about that one?
oh yeah, so that was another wonderful opportunity that I almost didn't say yes to. I've been starting to become active on LinkedIn, and it hadn't even been quite a year, and I was getting a lot of connections, but barely putting out very much content. But I was, and I was getting some visibility. And then I connected with Lorena Acosta because she was kind of like the queen of
in Florida for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so much great content. And one of my friends, Miguel, told me to that I ought to connect with her. So I did. And then she responded right back and said, "Hey, tell me what you do, and I'd like to help promote you." And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. So she screenshotted my profile and then posted on her post and said, "Hey, I just met this great guy. Connect with him." And I got flooded with connection requests just because of Lorena's influence.
Right.
And that was great. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, maybe not even that long, she called me, but she said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I'm like, what would this be about? And
you thought you were in trouble?
She was planning a LinkedIn Live in Orlando, Florida. She said, and I need someone to talk about, creating video and doing graphics for brand identity. Because I'd like you to come and be a panelist. And I thought, what? It's like, why would anyone choose me? I mean, sometimes I have trouble speaking certain things. It doesn't always come natural to me. But I told my wife about it, and she goes, "What?" But I thought about it, and I said, you know what? I probably won't get an opportunity like this again. And I called her back, and I go, "Hey, I'll do it." And then in between then and the event, I met the 5 other panelists on there. Got to be friends with them, make excellent connections. The event itself was a dream. I mean, it was so much fun. We had great attendance, super energy. I got up and was able to talk about stuff that I'm familiar with, and it was really easy. And it was fun. And the connections I made there, I still stay in contact with. So it's just another case of when you think you can't do it, go ahead and try it.